Oh, so yeah, it's getting there. Well, here we are giving you the final wrap up on our silage project. This block that I'm standing on is at the 6 foot mark, and I'm 6 feet tall, so you can tell our total pile of silage right here is, I would say it's about 14 feet from the top to the bottom of the asphalt pad that we poured. So we put the asphalt in the bottom, then we put these cement blocks on the side, and we were planning to go 2 more blocks higher, so another 4 feet higher, but we ran out of time and out of blocks. So we called it good, and we just have 6 feet of elevation from there to the bottom of the pit. And then we just were pretty confident that just by packing it taller, we could get it all in here. We would have preferred to have the cement blocks and have it all packed kind of really tight to the level of the blocks because we'd have less waste. We made the decision that we were not going to wrap this with plastic. A lot of times you'll see silage piles, they're covered with a white plastic, and then they have tires on them for ballasts, which would mean that we would have had to go buy thousands of tire sidewalls for the ballasts to put the plastic on, and also the plastic, and then we'd have to deal with the plastic and everything afterward. So we just made a decision that we would do it without the plastic wrap, which causes some waste. So our goal here was to pack this silage in there wet, and we ran over it with the loaders and the tractors that you probably see in the video and packed all the air out of it the best that we could. But obviously, since we didn't want to roll down the side of the pile, we kept kind of working to the inside as we went. And so this side here is a little loose. It's not as tight as the middle of the pad. And so we're gonna get a little bit of molding on the outside. A baby calf ran up my pile this morning and he made some footprints. And so this outside part here has a little bit of mold in it. You can see the gray color and the black and the mold. But I don't go in there very far before I'm out of the mold. And that is some good silage right there. And so I've just got a few inches that is going to be a waste, and it won't even be wasted. We can actually feed it to the cattle, and it's no problem in that low of quantity. But if, Josh, you put your hand on that, there's some heat to it. It's smells sweet, and it has kind of a good sweet flavor to it. So that's the difference between the air and the not the air. Anything exposed to the air out here, it's not hot, it doesn't have heat to it for one thing. Not that we want it to be really hot, it's not probably 90 degrees, and then it has mold in it. So by not wrapping it with plastic, have a little bit of mold and a little bit of waste on the outside of the pile, but it's only just a little bit, and then the good silage is inside where that anaerobic process is going on where there's no air and it cures differently. The cement part here is 300 feet long, and we went beyond that onto the asphalt pad beyond that. Kind of at the end, they were bringing silage so fast, and we were having to stack it so high, we couldn't keep up with them. When it was level and we were kind of moving with them, we could keep up fine. But right there at the end, we're having to push the silage so far down the pile that they were bringing it faster than we could pack it in the pile. And so we just kind of kept extending out there a little bit. Anyway, tonnage wise, there's 3,500 tons in this pile at 64% moisture. And so a little drier silage than last year. Last year we were at about 68%. This year we were about a week later cutting it. The grain was really ripe in it, and so the plant had dried down a little bit more. But again, if I go back to looking at this and seeing this, this is full of corn grain. I mean, it just looks really good. So from my perspective, The moisture is really good. The grain content is super good. And so there's going to be a lot of energy in that for the cattle for feed. So when we're building a ration, we're putting the ration in that feed truck over there, and it has augers in there that stir and mix the different types of feed together. We have hay over there of different quantities and types. So pretty much with the alfalfa hay, I'm bringing protein. With the silage, I'm bringing energy. And then the straw and the rougher grain hay, I'm just bringing fiber to fill the animal up. And so we're kind of using those components to make a ration that's kind of ideal for the cow. The ensiling process is good because it changes a corn stalk into a very palatable feed by changing the nature of the sugar in the plants. And so it gets sweet, and it just kind of goes through that chemical process. I call it cooking. It's not like cooking with heat, but the chemistry is changing and the plant's getting sweeter and more digestible to the cow. I mean, it's one of those things where you have this whole cornfield and you try and decide how do you preserve it. Well, to make it dry, all the grain would be separate, grain corn, and all the leaves and husks and stalk would be completely dry, and all the nutrition would completely evaporate from it. And so the other process is to try to store it wet, and that's again why we ensile it. We want that whole thing to be palatable to a cow, and this is the way to do it, where you can get that value out of the whole plant and not have to separate it as a grain and then a corn stalk, which if you feed a corn stalk to a cow, it'll pretty much basically starve to death on it. But if you feed this to a cow, they get roly-poly fat, so there's just, a little science and stuff behind what we're doing here and reasons why we like to make silage. But pretty much trying to make it a stored form of feed, so all winter long you have that, because all the green grass will go away and you have to feed them something, and this is a very nutritious option.